Alright everyone, we talked today first about more border analysis because it's becoming, I think, probably the foremost issue that's going to be in play in the subsequent election, depending on sort of how things go. Now, it's funny because you've got basically the tale of three different positions within the negotiations on the border. Not like normally people think, oh, Republicans and Democrats. It's a little bit more complex than that because Trump is not a standard Republican in some ways. He's more populistic, and really he's the one that is attempting to insert for wall funding. Now, you see McConnell in his statement, link in the description if you sort of go to that and read it, archived of course. If you look at that, you can tell by what McConnell's saying that he's not optimistic that the negotiations will work. He thinks the government will shut down again. And his primary concern, he's trying to foist the blame off on Trump for the whole thing instead of even bothering to blame, I think, the Dems by saying, oh, well, I'll support anything that keeps Trump from triggering an emergency situation, a national emergency. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, pass the buck, Mitch. Some help you are. The House Republicans may be a little more receptive, but the Republicans don't run the House. Meanwhile, Schumer's saying, oh, well, negotiations would be really quick and easy if it weren't for that Donald Trump. Yes, because the Republicans, many of them are sellouts and don't want to secure the border either. Chuck Schumer accidentally admitting to what everyone says about the Democrats anyway, which is they don't want to negotiate. They want to have a quick budget resolution passed for the next 2 years that doesn't involve funding the wall. Because then for at least 2 years, they don't have to fund any form of physical barrier at the border. No fences, even though Schumer has voted multiple times for similar proposals. No e-barrier. There would be no new ICE agents. If anything, they'd probably strangulate them. No new anything. That's what the Democrats want. They don't want it to be an issue because for years and years they've been perceived of as weak on the border. And now the past is caught up to them because we also have some of the Democratic leadership, specifically Schumer, which is why he's the most keyed in here and he's got the most to lose of, I think, anyone in Congress. We've got footage of him from half a decade ago basically voting for, praising, talking about stuff that Trump is now proposing. I'm asking, why is it that so many people in Congress are so reluctant to pass this one particular bit of funding that could reopen the government? Trump has already said, yes, you give me this, I will sign off on your budget, all the other goodies, the pork barrel bullshit that you want, you get it. Why are they so reluctant? They're Republicans voting against it. I have to assume they're probably never Trumpers. That's what it's about. And that doesn't mean, oh, well, they're siding with the Dems. Look, Trump is more of a Democrat than the Democrats at this point. You know, the Democrats 10 years ago, yeah, they wanted to actually improve border security. If anything, they were a little more hardline than the Bushites. The idea of an e-wall, oh, well, we need a cyber wall because physical barriers are outdated, that's nutty. That's total bullshit. Bush knew it at the time, just wanted to spy on people. Now the Democrats have revived that argument and put it forward as their alternative to getting a physical barrier built. And then meanwhile, you have some ankle biters like the Coulters of the so-called right-wing world saying, well, Trump the wimp, haha, you can't get it done and stuff. Oh, it's not really a wall, it's a fence. Yes, I'm sure the average fence is 40 feet tall and, a foot thick, made out of massive riveted iron. No, that's not the way that the world works. You're thinking of, in all honesty, the Democrats have used this term, medieval fortifications. Yeah, they don't work. Yeah, building a 50-foot wide fucking trench and putting a stone wall on your side, have a moat and stuff, that would look pretty cool. It would certainly be more decorative, and I'm sure that people could, figure out some interesting art to associate with it, and they could build little cottages onto it, have little pubs, have a little Hobbiton on the Mexican border or something. That'd be really funny, but it wouldn't be cost effective. The first time you have a significant earthquake anywhere near it, you have to scrap half the wall and rebuild it. Yeah, wonderful time, whereas it's really, really easy. It's almost modular the way that these more modern barriers fit together. Look, it's basically, you've got a similar barrier in Israel, for all intents and purposes. Okay, yeah, there's cement slab. Okay, there's also plenty of metal involved. It's not like a giant, again, medieval fortification. Brick by brick, we built the Great Wall of America. Yeah, it's not going to work, unfortunately. People always invoke the Great Wall of China. It's like, look at the tectonics within the region, maybe the geology, and you'll understand why there's a little bit of a difference involved, at least for the most part. I support Trump on this largely. I don't really care if the government is shut down. They're saying, well, it'll be a disaster if the shutdown comes back, if the negotiations fail, which there's a 99% chance, honestly, they will. Trump's not optimistic, Schumer's not optimistic, McConnell's certainly not optimistic. Nobody's optimistic. They're at an impasse. Government shuts down again. They're like, oh my God, the Pentagon will run out of certain funding. Certain workers will literally be let go of permanently. Oh my God, cats and dogs living together. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Look, let it stay shut down for a year and see what happens. One reason they're so freaked out is that they know the average American wouldn't notice any real change. And Trump's not willing to weaponize it the way that Obama did. Obama added injury to insult by like shuttering a bunch of shit very visibly. And sort of making a big deal of it. Trump's like, yeah, the government shut down. Yeah, sorry about those workers that are missing paychecks. Complain to the Democrats. They're the ones that won't fund the wall. It is their fault. They're denying him. He promised the American people this particular thing. He was elected. There was a reason for that. It's considered a popular proposal by most Americans. When you ask Americans, well, you want to spend shit tons of money on bullshit. Yeah, nobody wants that. But if you tell them, sort of like it is, if you actually tell them the physical thing that you're proposing, do you support this kind of barrier? It will cost this much, have this general impact. It's overwhelmingly popular. Something like 70-80% of Americans support increased border security. Now, some of them do support like an e-wall, sort of a democratic proposal. I'm going to hazard a guess. Most people, unless they live right on the border and it would impact their land, probably would rather have the physical barrier. You can have your e-wall too. The fact that you've erected an actual fence or wall, whatever the fuck you want to call it, doesn't mean you can't have the drones and cameras and shit that make me feel uncomfortable. If you're within 100 miles of the southern border, it's basically a police state already anyway. You already get randomly, you have random checkpoints set up. Have you ever been down there near the border? I can remember when I went through on Greyhound, like soldiers came onto the bus to check people's IDs randomly. And it's like, it's not even technically constitutional. Technically speaking, the military's occupying domestic soil in an improper manner. Technically speaking, it's already unlawful, but they do it anyway because no one's willing to challenge it in court. It's kind of difficult when the challenger would have to be an illegal immigrant potentially, and therefore is a criminal. So a little bit of a weird legal area. I would say this. Largely, Trump's idea is superior. You can have the e-wall with a physical barrier, but putting up the e-wall alone will do nothing. It's like, okay, I can see how many people are crossing the border. It doesn't help you stop them. The e-wall's not going to work. It's a bunch of bullshit. We already have all sorts of electronic systems. They don't work. When you have a caravan of 8,000 or 9,000 people approaching, the e-wall's not going to stop them. They're looking to just charge across the border in a large group. They're not trying to hide the fact that they're coming. They've told you they're coming when they're 1,000 miles away. You got plenty of time to prepare. If there's a physical barrier there, you stand a much better chance. But, the Democrats don't want that because they want slaves, basically. They want slave labor. They want people to get hurt on the way here so that they can grandstand about it and talk about my children and my feelings when they're the ones that are causing these caravans to form up by making it abundantly clear to the world, we will stop Trump from securing the border. Yes, there are gaps in our border. Come one, come all. Give us your tired and poor that will be just as tired and poor once we get through with the economy, along with every U.S. citizen. That's about all. Peace out.